Hey guys, welcome to the channel. I was just checking out some of the things people are coming up with. It's quite impressive. As you know, Starfield has a pretty interesting suite of customizing ships. You can pretty much do anything you want within certain limitations. You have certain modules, you have certain shapes that you have to adjust, but you have the way in which you can customize it. Just check that one out. Going back a little bit there, it goes by so fast sometimes. So you have certain modules, right? There seems to be a huge variety of them, but any of these little bits you can cut and, like a little Legos, assemble anything you want. And there's lots of flexibility in that because they have these little, from the inside as well, which is cool, the different cockpits, these parts, you can round up shape. So you could have almost like a cylindrical, like a pill shaped ship, right, without anything like that. You can have something a little bit more elongated or with different parts. It doesn't need to be symmetric. You can have all sorts of things. This is starting to look quite a little bit like this guy right here. And some folks are already working on some of the things they will be able to do with these options. So not just changing the colors, but finishing and rounding up those shapes. I'm pretty sure that the people in Bethesda already had this in mind in terms of, you know what? We'll make the ships, but we'll let people make their own ships in game, and some of the little parts we'll give them will allow them to put together certain ships that we ourselves can't do. That would make all the sense in the world, and no doubt whatsoever that's what they thought. Now look at how massive these things can be and how industrial, right? This is almost like a orange, a caterpillar kind of spaceship, right? So you have so many variety, and this isn't even going again, more rounded ships. There are certain limitations because you're working in blocks and modules, but look how rounded, if you combine certain ones in the right way, it can be almost like seamless, the transition between these shapes, right? So obviously that was taken into account, and again, more industrial, more compartmentalized. And yes, all of these have interiors, and that's one of the things when you have a ship with interiors. It's not just about a fancy looking volume. It actually needs to fulfill a certain purpose. It has to have a room inside that sort of matches it. So this is the frontier, the one you start with. But again, all of these parts, imagine if I start with this block. This, I put it like asymmetrically here on the side, and they put some of those rounded gadgets on the side there. This will be your Falcon Millennium very easily. You don't have to be a genius to see how that can be done. No problem there. So yeah, of course, guns and so on, but this isn't even taking into account mods. Just once you have the mod community, and I'll talk about that just in a minute now, but this is just without the mods. This is what you can do already, right? So you have all of these parts, right? Like what the Nova crawling, it has a specific name. These components that just round up, right, your ship so as to make it fit a certain shape, right? Like these ones there. And then of course changing brightness, saturation. You can make this look almost like a chrome finish if you want to go with that. So you give it a certain extra brightness and a silvery color that will look pretty chromish, and you can change that quite nicely. So just ships alone, but then you start looking at some of the things that people have come up with already, cutting and pasting and using. I mean, you don't even have the game yet, but this is the point. You don't even have the game, and already people are just using Photoshop to cut and paste and see whatever they can come up with. Starfield, Star Wars mods, and other inevitable creations we want to see. Yes, dude, we will see those. Some of the Star Trek ones, some of the more famous ships, you will see a variety of that all day long, for sure. No question about that. right? This one was in the video. It's not quite Falcon Millennium, but you see a certain vibe, and you see how this part here, if it all had the same color and maybe moving it up a little bit more, man, yeah, that does have that exact same vibe. And there you go. And this one is pretty interesting. This is some ships I made in Photoshop. So people, when you allow people to do these things, to just run with the ball, you know, you just give them the components, mix it up, and then you add to that mods, making this, you know, there's no limit. Look at this thing. I mean, yeah, this is a Photoshop, but this is using some of the components that are already visible there. Yeah, combining them, it almost looks like has a little bit of a Cuddy Black vibe, one of the Star Citizen more iconic ships. So yeah, you will be able to do a lot in Starfield, and people, this is my point, people are already doing it. They're already, you know, working on these things, and as soon as you start seeing the mods, this will just go through the roof. It will be crazy. That's all for now, guys. See you in the next video. Take care.